73-year-old former child protection police officer Robert Branny from St Austell has been sent to jail for a second time after disturbing images were found on his mobile device during a sexual harm prevention visit by police. The visit by police is designed to keep check on those on the order and to ensure that they're not accessing or indulging in illegal activities, which the sexual harm prevention order prohibits them from accessing. Branny was originally jailed in 2017 after pleading guilty to a single charge of making indecent photographs of a child. It's just a shame the police aren't sending all of these sick individuals to jail regardless of the amount of images they have. After all, we all too often hear of the suspended sentences for far worse. Branny was a police officer for 28 years before retiring in 2001, and during that time spent 4 years working in the child protection unit set up to help children who had been abused. The information found on Branny's device included browser history to websites showing people doing naughties with animals. His defence describes it as a fleeting lapse, and that Branny had been making steps to address his perverted desires. Oh, and surprise, surprise, Branny's mental state was said to have contributed to his actions. Just like when any police staff are caught out, they rely on the mental health defence. Branny was sent back to prison for 10 months. A crowd that gathered outside of a dying man's house in Sheffield was said to have been threatened with tasers by police. On New Year's Day, a man in his 30s went into cardiac arrest at his home in Willoughby Street, Page Hall in Sheffield. One resident said that there were literally hundreds of people there, mainly from the Roma community. Loud screams and wails when he was brought out. He must have been a well-known member of the Roma community, said one of the residents. A South Yorkshire police statement said there were no reports of any kind of disorder, hostility or aggression when the police attended the incident. And that we were called by the ambulance service and there is no information to suggest any disorder at the scene. They also said we were called by the ambulance service to assist as large crowds had gathered, but there is nothing on the log to suggest that there were any issues. Our log also states that 2 ambulances were already at the scene when we received the call. However, this is in contradiction to some of the local residents who said the police officers who attended the incident had a bad attitude towards the crowd and threatened to tase people if they failed to disperse. The police officers were pushing them and swearing at them. One of the officers also told the crowd to go back or they would tase us. Now, I don't know about you guys, but after studying the police in many interactions over the past 8-10 months, this doesn't sound too far-fetched to me. Let's face it, the police would have been outnumbered, and although there is no reports of any members of the public actually being aggressive or violent, we all know that the police don't like these kinds of situations and try to command respect for their authority with threats and often pushes. My heart goes out to the family and friends of the guy who died. It's never a good time for a loved one to leave us, and it's certainly going to put a stain on their future New Year's celebrations. As for the police and the reports about the incident, I mean, do you think it's too much of a stretch of the imagination that the police behaved in an aggressive manner? Or do you think the statement made by the locals who gathered, many of which are said to have been related to the deceased man, were exaggerated about how the police handled the situation? Let me know what you think in the comments. A 26-year-old former Special Constable, Tristian Smith, has received a custodial sentence of almost 5 years for attempting to frame his ex-girlfriend for attacks on his home. Smith from Kent waged what was described as a hate-filled vendetta against his ex-partner, Charlotte Clark Hughes, after they separated in 2017. Smith was an IT Masters graduate who is said to have hacked his ex's Facebook account and email accounts, spoofing her phone number, as well as those of her mother and father, to send abusive messages to himself and a friend in an attempt to make it look like his ex had sent them. When he was questioned, Smith repeatedly lied to his police colleagues by inventing break-ins at his homes, where he daubed the exterior walls of the property with the word "die", and also claimed to have fought off masked attackers at his home who were armed with bats and knives. The judge called Smith a highly self-centered attention seeker. In other words, a police officer. The downfall for Smith was basically the attacks that he had reported were not caught on his extensive CCTV system. He was unanimously found guilty of 6 offences of perverting the course of justice, 1 of gaining unauthorised access to a computer, and 1 of assault causing actual bodily harm to Miss Hughes related to an incident at a home in which, having turned up uninvited, he is said to have pinned her down on a sofa and bit her on the shoulder. Well, I'm glad we've got another police constable off the street who, you know, simply can't be trusted around anybody.
Good night, all.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you like the content and you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so. In the description of every video there are some links to ways that you're able to help support the channel so I can continue putting out content. If you're unable to help us in that way, hit that subscribe button up the top there. If you haven't already, become a subscriber. That is support enough. Share the videos, comment, like, it all helps. If you're looking for something else to watch, up top there is my latest video. Down the bottom there is a video that YouTube recommends for you.